Every day I think that there is no way that JD Vance could be worse at his job, that he could humiliate himself more, or he could cause greater problems for his boss. But that is exactly what he just did. Not only was the trip he took to Greenland with his wife Usha a few weeks ago just a complete humiliation for the both of them, but it is now costing Donald Trump both in his trade war and in his national security agenda. It is shocking how much JD Vance just screwed up and how clear Greenland is making it that they are done with Vance and Trump. We are going to get into it all and the shocking move that just came as a result of Vance's trip. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into this shocking move that Greenland just made, completely breaking with Donald Trump, I first want some context from JD Vance on why he went to Greenland to show you how badly it backfired.
The president said today that we have to have Greenland. By being here today, are you also conveying that message that the U.S. is very serious in its desire to acquire Greenland?
Well, the president said we have to have Greenland, and I think that we do have to be more serious about the security of Greenland. We can't just ignore this place. We can't just ignore the president's desires, but most importantly, we can't ignore what I said earlier, which is the Russian and Chinese encroachment in Greenland. We have to do more. Now, what the president said in his State of the Union address, and he was very clear about this, is we respect the self-determination of the people of Greenland. But my argument again to them is I think that you'd be a lot better coming under the United States security umbrella than you have been under Denmark's security umbrella.
So JD Vance was claiming that it was his intention to go to Greenland because he thinks it is an important strategic and economic partnership for the United States. JD says we need this territory because of its significance to Russia and China. That is very important to keep in mind. He says that it's important strategically with Russia, but of course they don't want to protect a different strategic territory in Ukraine, our ally already. But Vance makes the point that Denmark isn't doing a good enough job defending Greenland from Chinese influence. That point is very important to what Greenland just did and can be explained through what Jessica Tarlov had to say right here about Donald Trump's trade war with China.
Leverage to take on Donald Trump?
Isn't the art of the deal that's just an opening gambit, right?
Okay.
We'll ease our way into that.
Yeah.
I think that China knows that there are tens of millions of Americans that own small businesses that rely on goods from China that are going to be completely bankrupted by these tariffs. And that's really what this is about. They can say what they want about Hollywood, but that's what it's going to come down to, that people need to be able to go, excuse me, to Walmart and get the things that they want. And that's what the CEO of Walmart is saying. That's what people like Ken Langone is saying, calling what Trump's doing BS. This is someone who's a strong supporter of his. Ken Griffin as well. I was struck by what Larry Fink said this morning on CNBC. This is the head of BlackRock. The U.S. post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not already, in a recession. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something we've created. And that's the trend line here, that smart people who create jobs, who are really rich, who have done well, who Donald Trump respects, know that what he is doing is about his own fantasies and not about the realities of the economics here. The dollar is weakening. People are dumping U.S. assets. They don't think that we're a good bet. And the American public, the lower classes that Scott Bessent is so concerned with, are losing their minds. Consumer sentiment dropped to its second lowest level since 1952 when they started recording this. Do you think that's a good thing, that the American public, who need to be able to get up and go to the grocery store and get that flat screen TV, right, if that's what they want?
As we have already seen, Donald Trump is going to bend the knee to China. The American economy is too reliant on Chinese goods. The vast majority of jobs in this country come from small businesses that are overwhelmingly affected by these tariffs because they can't get carve-outs and exemptions like the CEOs of big corporations who go to Mar-a-Lago, write Donald Trump a check, and kiss his ass. They can't do that, and so they are affected. And in the same way, other countries see that Chinese influence is growing, American influence is waning, and it is all because of this embarrassing administration. And that's why, not only because of Trump's tariffs, but J.D. Vance's trip, Greenland made this announcement. Greenland courts China in snub to Trump. Greenland's foreign minister has said it is seeking deeper cooperation with China and potentially a free trade agreement, according to Chinese state news. Why it matters. The comments were made as U.S. President Donald Trump and his allies have continued to talk of acquiring the resource-rich and strategically located island. Greenland held elections in March with a new government led by Prime Minister Jens Friedrich Nielsen of the Democrats. Trump has said the United States needs Greenland for global security reasons at a time of increasing competition with China. The comments were made in late March by Greenland's Minister of Independency and Foreign Affairs. What to know? China is very important to us, and we are eager to strengthen our connections, said a minister of Greenland. The minister also said that she had made a memorable trip to China in 2023 and noted that China was already one of Greenland's largest markets for seafood exports. Motzfeldt formally opened Greenland's representative office in Beijing in 2023 with the Danish embassy. Greenland, home to around 56,000 people, has strategic importance due to its location in the Arctic, significant reserves of rare earth minerals, and the presence of the Pituffik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base. Although Denmark oversees foreign and defense policy, Greenland has steadily expanded its self-rule since gaining home rule in 1979. What are people saying? The chairman of the Atosit Party and a member of the Greenlandic Parliament, quoted by a Beijing newspaper, said, "I've been to Beijing and several other cities. I was very impressed during my visit to China. I was particularly interested in how we can build good cooperation with Chinese enterprises and authorities." Donald Trump said, "We'll get Greenland." Yeah, 100%. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson said, on the issue of Greenland, China always believes that relations between countries should be handled in accordance with purposes and principles of the UN Charter. So JD screwed up. Big time. What a shock that is. Greenland did not like his trip. They made that incredibly clear. And now they really don't like the state of play in the global markets. So they are quickly turning away from the United States because of our incompetent VP and our incompetent president. And MAGA is trying to defend it, but they just can't. Listen to Tommy Lahren getting shut down by Brian Tyler Cohen on this very issue.
And what you're also seeing is this president in action. He's managed to, in a couple of days' time, isolate China from the rest of the world, put them in their place. He's got that 90-day pause. Other countries coming to the table, 70 plus, lining up to make deals with this president. So I'm incredibly happy to see this thing play out. I understand the anxiety. I trust the process. I trust this president. And I think that we're off to the races.
Brian, do you trust this president?
I don't think that I trust the president any more than most of the country trust the president on the economy right now. The reality is that this is an economic calamity that he has ushered in, and he's done it unilaterally and voluntarily. If we actually do descend into a full-blown recession, which most people, most economists are predicting that we will right now, it'll be the first time that it's done at the hands of an American president as an error, a completely unforced error. The reality is that the stock market is tanking. All of our indexes are in correction territory. If a Democratic president did this, Tommy would be apoplectic at the ruin that has been ushered in. And the only time there was some momentary reprieve in the stock market is when Donald Trump himself caved on his own policy. And finally, Tommy, you had mentioned that we're isolating China on the world stage. There's reporting now that Japan and South Korea are negotiating trade deals with China to go around American tariffs. There's reporting that the EU is working with China to eliminate those tariffs for EVs. So I'm concerned that you're not familiar with which country, in fact, is actually being isolated on the world stage. It doesn't look like it's China.
China must be throwing a party every time Donald Trump opens his mouth because no one is helping the Chinese influence with their soft power and global cooperation more than Donald Trump. It's almost like he's not just a puppet for Putin, but Xi Jinping as well. And what Carolyn Levitt most recently said just goes to show how really out of touch Donald Trump is with this situation.
The president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
The ball is in China's court, then you're not getting it back. They don't know what they're doing. This trade war was always a mistake, much like Donald Trump's in 2019. He didn't know what he was doing. This is not the art of the deal. And I have to again say, what deal has he ever done? He didn't write the book. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is an incompetent, pathological liar, a narcissist whose brain is melting, and he's screwing us all over. This is a huge lie that the administration is pushing, that somehow there is some cogent plan. There's not. It's just like Donald Trump's immigration plan, if we can even call it that. It is immoral, it is illegal, and it is incompetent, which is what AOC called out in this takedown right here.
It was all, I hope we see now, that it was all about manipulating the markets so that he could quietly enrich his friends who bought the dip before reversing it all in the morning. Boise, this is a matter of fact. Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud, liable for sexual abuse. Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror. But back to stocks. To be clear, I don't care what party you are, Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter how powerful one is or the position that one holds. Members of Congress holding and trading individual stock is wrong. It is corrosive, it is destructive, and it needs to be banned.
I feel like some Democrats are a little afraid to touch the immigration issue. But as AOC has said before, Donald Trump isn't popular on immigration. Democrats just haven't worked hard enough to make him unpopular. Shipping lawful permanent residents to concentration camps in El Salvador, it's not popular. So talk about it. Call it out. Don't be afraid. We talked about this with Jamie Raskin. Have a little courage. We're certainly going to do so and call it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.